I'm Brent Parker, and we're going to go over the reservation system and the checkout. So when a member comes, they pull up in their car, you help them get their things and help them carry their things down to the boat, help them put their things on the boat, and then help them on the boat, and then you turn to the iPad. So on the iPad, that's where we do the checkout procedure, and this is really important because actually when they go out, this is more or less a legal document that they sign that says everything's okay, that we gave them the boat in good working condition. So that kind of helps the company cover their basis whenever we send somebody out. So when you go on the iPad, go to the dock box right there, click boat reservation, and that'll pick up the reservation center. And then click this view reservations box, and you can see the reservations for the day. Here we'll click on Alex's name, do Alex, checkout, and then that'll bring up this screen. And so you need to fill out all of this. So for this dock master, you can put your name. So I'll just put Brent right here, and then put the adults on board, so how many people are with the party. Let's say there are 3 adults and 2 children on board. Trip info, so estimated return time. You'll just want to ask when they'll be back, so that way we can make sure the dock staff's ready and expecting their call. Destination, ask them where they're going. If they're going to a certain restaurant or a beach or a local anchorage spot. And weather condition, if it's windy or it looks like thunderstorm, you just want to acknowledge that we know what kind of condition that we're sending them out in. But most of the time it'll be clear. Vessel restrictions, if the member has any sort of restriction or they can't go out into the ocean if they don't have the open ocean certification, put any restrictions. And then designated sober skipper. It's important here that you specifically ask the member who is the designated sober skipper. We want them to acknowledge that the person driving the boat will not be consuming any alcohol and that they'll be the responsible party on the boat. And then designated lookout. If there's only one person on the boat, the designated lookout can be the sober skipper. But if there are multiple people on the boat, likely it'll be somebody else in the party. And the designated lookout, their responsibility is to make sure they alert the driver and other passengers on board of debris and also opposing wakes. So if there's another boat wake that they're coming up on, they want to alert the driver of the wake and to slow down, because a lot of times what will happen is there'll be somebody sitting in the front of the boat, the driver hits an opposing wake at full speed, and that person sitting in the front of the boat flies out of their seat and they land on the floor. So we want to make sure somebody's looking out and have a second set of eyes. And then starting engine hours, you'll look up what the engine hours are on the boat. Starting engine hours, that's that number right there, 113. You can see the H right there for hours. So I'll go ahead and type in 113 right here. And then starting fuel meter is on this gauge right here. It's a progressive meter, so it'll just track how many gallons have gone through the motor. So you just write down 949.3. And then that way, when they come back, we'll take that reading again and we'll know how much to charge them. And then click to continue. And at that point, you click to continue, you can hand the iPad to the member, because then the member gets the iPad and they have some terms that they need to accept and agree. So the member will at this point go through and accept, and proceed to check out. And it's important that they do those things because, again, this is more or less a legal document that they're accepting. And then it takes you to the checklist. And the member still has the iPad at this point. And as the dock staff, you go around and you show them each of these things so they can check it off. So one thing that I like to do is I like to first go to the propeller before I put the motor in the water while it's still out of the water and check and have them check off the propeller button to make sure that there's no damage to the propeller. So with the propeller, it's okay if there's paint missing, but once metal's missing, that's when there needs to be damage reported. So you'll come back here to the propeller and just make sure that there's no damage on the prop, and then they'll click. And once they click, it'll go green. So they'll go there, and then we'll move on to the next thing. So then, engine cover, you just essentially want to make sure there's no cracks in the cowling or nicks in the paint that we don't know about. And then they can click off the engine cover one. Alright, and then you'll show the member that the ladder's there and that it's not damaged, and they can click the ladder button. Show the member we also have a fire extinguisher on the boat, and they can check the fire extinguisher box. And then all the boats will have a dock pole, so you show the member the dock pole, and then a sound device. All the boats will have horns. We also have a whistle that we'll give to them. In each one's box there'll be a yellow whistle. So they can click off sound device. Alright, and then show the member that they do have flares in there, and so that way they can check the flares off. Alright, so then a working bilge, just flip the bilge switch, just make sure it makes noise. A lot of times the automatic bilges keep all the water out, so you won't necessarily see it spit water out when you flip the switch, but at least to hear the electronics going and hear it working. So they can click working bilge. And then live well on the deck boats and fishing boats, actually most of the deck boats and the fishing boats, there'll be a live well. So you can flip the live well switch on and see it start putting water in the live well. And you can click that. And then lanyard. This is the lanyard. The red lanyard is attached to the key and attached to the kill switch. So if that gets pulled, the motor shuts off automatically. So we just want to make sure that the lanyard is in place and attached to the key. And then operational telltale. So what the operational telltale is when water spits out of the motor when the motor's cycling water. So to do that, you'll want to turn the boat on. And I won't turn the boat fully on because it's out of the water right now. But you'll turn the boat on, make sure the prop is all the way in the water, turn the key on, and then after 2 to 5 seconds you should see water spit out of the back, and we'll go back there and I'll show you exactly where it'll spit out. Okay, this is where the operating telltale will come out of. So it'll be a stream of water that'll spit out from the motor on this left side right here. And once you see that stream, then let the member know the operating telltale is working and they can check that off. Alright, so we'll verify the throw cushion. And the throw cushion just has to be visible when the member takes the boat out. So once the member leaves, they can do whatever they want with the throw cushion. They can put it in the center console or put it under a seat. For right now, we'll just leave it on the dash. And so the member will check the throw cushion, that the throw cushion's good, and it's on the boat. And then the chart kit. So most of our boats will have GPS units. Some of them may not, but if they don't, then they'll have a laminated map, but they'll have some sort of chart kit. So the member will check off the chart kit. Also bimini top, so if it's a center console it'll be a T-top, but on all the other boats, pontoons, deck boats, it'll be a bimini top. So just make sure that they've seen that there's no rips or any damage to the bimini top or T-top, and they can click the bimini top button. So gas cap, we want to make sure that the gas cap's on and secured, and they can click that. And then fenders, there'll be 2 fenders on each boat, so point out the fenders to them so they know they have those. Because if they come back with only 1 fender, then we'll need to charge them for a lost fender. So make sure there's 2 fenders on the boat, so they can click that. And then there's 4 dock lines on all boats, and we keep them in different places depending on the boat. You'll just have to know which boat where they're at. But the center consoles are right here. Show the member that so they can check off that they brought 4 dock lines. They had 4 dock lines, because again, if they go out with 4 dock lines and then they come back with 3, then we need to charge them for 1 dock line. We have 2 life jacket bags. There could be 5 in each of those bags. So life vests. Also it says proper size. So if there's a child that comes out in the boat, then you want to get a children's life vest so that the child can have a proper size. We have a few life vests on hand for children, but we encourage the members to bring their own because we don't stock enough for everybody. And then point the windshield out, make sure there's no damage or cracks on that, so that way the member can check that off. And then we'll go around and do the seats, make sure there's no tears or damage to the seat cushions, and make sure that the member has a chance to see all the seat cushions, and then they can check off the seats button. I'll come and I'll show the member where the anchor is and the anchor line. And the anchor's right here, so then the member can go and they can click anchor line. And if there is any damage, there's a box down here that they can write any discrepancies. So if there's a scuff on the engine cover, they can note that, or if there's a tear in one of the cushions that we haven't fixed yet, they can note that. So that way when they come back, they can just have their bases covered. But if there's no discrepancy, the boat's good to go and it's in good working condition, then we just ask that the member put their phone number. So while they're still holding the iPad, just have them put their phone number. And then they hand it to the dock master, and that's the end of their checkout.